everyone, and welcome to this episode, the first episode of International Studies, the show on which we'll be learning how the world was, how it is, so we're better informed as to how it's likely to be in the not too distant future. It's a pleasure to have you here. Please feel free to smash that like button. Comment below with a question or concern you have. It will be a pleasure to have you. And of course, don't forget to subscribe. Today's lesson is really going to be a primer. It's not going to be anything detailed, although the discussion might get a bit rich. But we're going to look at the continent of Africa and Europe. Alright? Those are the continents we're going to look at today. Just something simple just to warm us into the subject. Alright? Let's just jump into it. Alright, so this is our Earth, alright? There are a number of continents. We are going to go through each and every one of them. 7 actually. 7 continents. You have Africa, you have Europe, you have Asia, you have North, South America, you have Oceania or Australasia, depending on what classification you're using, and then you have Antarctica. Today we're going to look at Africa and Europe. Now, the idea of a continent. What is a continent? What are you supposed to think about when the word continent is mentioned? Now, you see this large block of land over here, right? Step away from it for a moment. Step away from that. Don't let that get to you too much, okay? Look around you. You live in a house. Someone lives next to you. Another person to your right and to your left of where you live. People live next to you, and it's a chain. It continues all the way to. If you take a car and you're riding through town, you see it's house after house after building after building after park after house. Now, all these buildings, all these dwellings, all these places exist on a large block of land. That large block of land, okay, where we live in this country is called Ghana. Now, we are looking right now at just your house. Let's consider the country as a house. Let's make Ghana your house. Now, this is where your house is. Ghana is right here. Okay? This is your house. This is your house. This is Ghana. Ghana has a neighbor over here, Cote d'Ivoire, Togo, Benin. They also have neighbors. You go the north. If you go northwards, you have Burkina Faso. You have Cote d'Ivoire on the west. You have Togo on the east. You have Cote d'Ivoire, the Gulf of Guinea to the south. Yeah. Now, if you are to take each, so Togo has a neighbor to the north, south, west, and east. Benin the same way. And it's just like house after house after house, house after house after house after house after house after house. We keep going. Now, it all exists on one huge landmass, right? Called Africa. It's this huge landmass over here. Get it? So that's the idea of a continent. It's like the way you live with your neighbors, only on a much bigger scale, right? So we've gotten the idea of a continent pretty clear in our minds. Now, when we take this continent of ours called Africa, alright? We've said the idea of a continent is much like your house. Now you realize your house is on a piece of land. Your house is not floating in the air. It's attached to something solid. The thing you walk on, it's called land. Have you ever stopped to ask yourself what was on the land you live on before your parents came there? Or before the house was built? Surely other people. Perhaps it was just a forest. And at that time, instead of you living there, you had perhaps some giant snake, some big fat gorilla, his tiger and lion friends living there. You see. It's not too different when it comes to the land you have here. Various different people lived on the land before you came to occupy it. Now, at certain points, they did very great things. And when I say great things, I mean this. You see, in the classroom, sometimes you have a math test, and most of you score perhaps out of 10, a 4, a 5, sometimes 3. You are not really happy when you get a 3. 4, 5, some score 6, 7, and they are happy. Others score a straight 10, and everyone's like, whoa, that guy is good. Well, yeah, it's pretty much the same. You had people living in their little tribes. There's the chief, they go about their daily duties, and it pretty much ends there. And then after say 100, 200 years, they either leave that place to go to a different place because perhaps the land wasn't working for them anymore, the river stopped flowing or something. Those are the people who scored the 3, 4s. Others were able to set up very decent societies with structures. It wasn't just their little tribe and stuff. They had a strong military. They had people who they could call on their tribesmen who could defend them, and they were very good at fighting. But they did not expand how much land they had. They just kept a little to themselves. Yes, but they had something which was better than just your little tribe with your clay pots, and then you prepare food, you celebrate the festival 3 or 4 times every year, and then you go to sleep. Nah, those guys had something more. And then you had people who really took it to the next level. These people had good systems, they had fine land, they were able to support not just a few people, but a lot of people. They had people who could really fight, and they were willing to take more land in addition to what they already had. They weren't content with what they had. Those people created what we call empires. Now I'll show you a couple of examples of what an empire is. Now you see this. This is the African map right here. The map we were looking at a few minutes ago. Only that at this point, what are we looking at? Those who were here, those who occupied the land we presently occupy. And when I say we, I mean we as Africans, not just as Ghanaians, you understand? Now, this is the ancient Ghana Empire. Its capital was Kumbi-Sale. Now, from some small area around here, they expanded and took all this territory to themselves. And they were really known for gold. They had libraries, it was, let's say, the way we look at America now. That's how people at the time looked at the ancient Ghana Empire. But there's one thing you have to recognize about empires, and all things human beings make. They don't last forever. Just like a human being will be born, a baby, will be nurtured, grow up to a child, like most of you are, looking forward to becoming adults. You have your family, you'll grow old, and whether you like it or not, you will die. The same thing happened with our empires right here. So for about 100, perhaps 200 years, yes, they'd be there, and eventually they'd die, just like human beings. It's funny, something has to cause the death of the empire. Perhaps they have some king who doesn't really know how to rule. Perhaps they develop certain tastes that they can't support. There's always something that kills an empire. And I think I'll make a series about this. There's a book on it by a certain British military general, which I think I'd like to review, which tells you about how empires are born and how they die. It's called The Age of Empires. Sir John, I forgot the guy's name. Most likely I'll tag it in the description. So check the description. If you want to start reading that book, I highly encourage it. It's a fantastic book. It takes you through all the phases. It takes you through the childhood of an empire, the young adulthood, old age of empires, and the things you will see in each. and it takes various different empires from the very beginning, the ones that we've been able to find all the way till today, and does that comparison. Excellent book. I recommend it. So yeah, this is the ancient Ghana Empire. So people were here before we came, just like your parents were there before you came. People had countries before, they had areas which were their own, which other people knew not to come into and claim as their own. Much like you have your house, or your parents have the house you live in, and someone just can't come in and say, this is my house, you see. So it's this idea is really not that new. Now, the African continent played host to many empires. We've seen an example of one, the ancient Ghana Empire. So we have even more modern examples of empires. And for that, let's take I have some more guys here. All right. So when the ancient Ghana Empire, was dying, various different groups who lived in there took over the land that the empire owned. And you can see the Wolof people, these people took this land, these people took this, these people took that, the Soso people took it, the Songhai people, Ouagadougou. Those of you who are a bit versed in geography will know that that's the current capital city, of Burkina Faso. So this is around 1,200 years after Christ died. This is what we have. So yeah, after the ancient Ghana Empire, we had the Mali Empire. They also took land, much more. You can see where it starts and where it ends. They didn't last forever, and it's funny because the name Ghana that we use today as a country, we remember the greatness of the ancient Ghana Empire, and we named ourselves after those people because of the great things they did. I'm sure the Malians did the same thing. The reason why they have Mali. I'm not well versed about that. Please fact check me on that. That would be nice. Extra marks to the person who is able to present the fact checking best. This is fact checking. You check whether or not what someone is saying is true. You can do a Google search. You can read about what I'm saying to find out whether it's true or not. That is fact checking. So yeah, this is the ancient Mali Empire. Now, we've had more recent examples of empires, These empires, the ancient Ghana Empire, the ancient Mali Empire, these happened, look, it's 2020, it's 2020 years, at least as I understand it, after Jesus Christ died. We are not even counting all the time before Jesus Christ came and died. We are not even counting all that. So it's a long time. Now, listen. The ancient Ghana Empire supposedly died in 1,200 years AD, that's after Christ's death. The Mali Empire was around 1,400 years after Christ died, AD. Now, this happened 1,933 years after Christ died. Just so that you can understand what I'm talking about with these big numbers, the year we are living in is literally 2,020 years after Christ died. You understand? So when you hear 1933, 1545, we are, especially when you see 1545 CE or AD, you're looking at the time after Christ died. So this was in 1933. In Europe, they'd had World War I. between 1914 and 1918, Europe was quite a mess. There were economic problems. I mean, when we say there are economic problems, we mean simply that people could not make money to feed themselves and take care of themselves. And it wasn't just one or two people, it was like the whole country. I'm talking about Germany currently. And it wasn't just Germany anyway, because a few years before 1933, you had a financial, something having to do with money, event which crippled the United States. Okay, the stock crash of 1929. Yeah. Oh, it really messed up people's livelihoods. Okay, take it as over 1 million people who do not have jobs to work to make money to buy food to eat so that they can. Oh, think of, I know I don't want to say it that way, but just think of your parents have to go to work before they can buy food, feed themselves, feed you, pay the electricity bill, buy the internet you are using to watch this video right now. Alright? Now, when you come to school, you see you're a lot. You children, you're a lot. Each of you have parents who provide for you. Now you understand you are not the only children in Ghana. There are many, many others. 300,000, 400,000. Most of them have parents. Okay? Say mother and father. Now imagine these 300 or 400,000 people who work to make so that you can buy food with the money that you make from the work you do, so you can eat that food and live and buy the water and live, enjoy your internet, go to school. You understand? Imagine all those people now cannot work because the workplace has a problem with money, so they can't pay them and the workplace shutters or it stops work, it stops functioning. And many other workplaces are also shutting down. Do you understand? It's that's the picture. Okay, when you hear economic crisis, most of the time it has something to do with banks, but that's not the purpose of this video. Okay, I don't want to go too deeply into that. I just want you to have an idea of what we're about to talk about. So over here, this is Germany. Okay, they were in that kind of situation. It wasn't just them, but they had it pretty bad. It wasn't good. It really wasn't good. Adolf Hitler says, hey, the problem is the French. You see, when we went to war, the French people, yeah, they beat us, yeah, we agree, yeah, we didn't win the war, yeah, fine. But they took our land, and they actually did. Took our military, they dismantled our military, we can't fight for ourselves again. They are asking us to pay them huge sums of money, and it was a really huge sum of money too. And then they finished paying, I think, October 2010. The amount of money that Germany had to pay to the Allies who had won World War I was really, really, really huge. And that's why we don't have enough money here. We can't feed ourselves. This is bad. If you elect me and I come to power, I'll fix all this. We'll get our land back. We'll get our military back. That kind of thing. That's the picture I want to paint. Okay, it's a bit exaggerated, I know, but that's the sense of the mood of the time. But somehow Germany was able to get its act together, and Hitler came to power. And this is what he did. Every single piece of land that he took from them, he took it back. But then he wasn't satisfied. He went for more. Now, when he got all the land he was looking for and went for Poland, it started World War II. That was in 1939. World War II lasted. World War II, when we say a world war, okay, we mean most or majority of the countries in the world are fighting either one group fighting another or someone. That's what a world war is. We've had two grand episodes of those. 1914 to 1918, that gave us World War I. 1939 to 1945 gave us World War II. Thank God we're not at World War III yet. But since World War II, somehow every time there is a war somewhere. Well, for the largest part of human history, there's always been a war somewhere. So what can you say? I don't know. So on the point of what an empire is, okay, this is a more recent example. It just happened like 70, 80 years ago. Okay, this guy took land and used all the land that is slightly green or green he took. You understand? So this is the empire expanding. So this is where he started from. Then he picked this place. Oh yeah, he came here first. He came to Austria with the Anschluss. Then he picked this and the Sudetenland later. Don't worry about the names. I'm just trying to show you how empires expand. It's important. We'll be dealing with a lot of this with the stuff that we're going to learn in this series. So it's important that the concept is made clear, okay? Yeah, it's really no big deal. So he came for this. Then he came to Poland. He picked this place up, starting World War II. He didn't stop there. He picked this up. Eventually, he went to France. Picked half of France, off too. Well, it didn't last for long. Let me see. It didn't last for long. He lost the war. And eventually, Germany was divided into two. This is the blue line, okay? All the way here, come all the way down here, all the way here. The part in red we have here, I think is the border of Germany today. It says present eastern border. So, voilà, c'est ça. So that's what an empire is. That's what an empire is. So now that we've gotten the idea of a continent, an empire in our minds, we are going to ask ourselves the question, how is it that Africa was divided like this? And how is it that this is how the land in Africa is divided like this today? Most of you probably know that at a certain point in time, white people from Europe came to Africa and essentially came to rule Africa. The British came here, they conquered through various means land from here all the way here. It was much smaller than this though. It became bigger over time. But that was before independence. And this land was called Ghana, and the British were the owners of this house. Okay? They were the ones who decided what moves and what doesn't move. For Cote d'Ivoire, for Benin, for Togo, for Burkina Faso, that's what the French did. It wasn't just them, okay? Nigeria was British owned. Liberia is a bit of an exception because Liberia was founded with freed slaves. We had the slave trade. We sold slaves to the whites. I'm sorry, but we did that. Yeah, sold slaves to the whites. They were taken to America. They were treated brutally. It was brutal. Listen, slavery was normal in Africa. In fact, the whites weren't the first people we sold slaves to. We sold African people, sold their own African brothers to. There was the trans-Arabic slave trade across the Sahara Desert into the Arabian Peninsula. That happened over thousands of years ago. We had the transatlantic slave trade, the one we more recently know about, the one to America, South America, yes. At a certain point in time, human beings realized, white people and black people, that slavery was not a good thing. So the practice was stopped and some slaves were freed. They came here and Liberia was formed. In fact, the capital, Monrovia, was the name Monrovia comes from the US president at the time, James Monroe. Okay? So that's the story of Liberia in a nutshell. At Sierra Leone, for the most of Africa, Sierra Leone, Guinea-Bissau, all these countries, most of them were colonized. Now, after independence, most countries decided that they were going to keep the borders, or they were going to stay the way they were. They weren't going to say that, oh, the whites, we've been able to get rid of the white people, the British and co. We've been able to get rid of them. So right now, let's fight each other and see who can pick the most land. No, we all decided to a great extent that the borders, this is what the border is. Okay, it's kind of like the fence wall around your house. It's what separates your land from other people's land. You see the yellow lines here. Okay, yeah, that's the border. That's what separates Ghana from Togo, from Benin and co. You understand? We decided that the borders were going to stay the same. So, when we made that decision, it's not everyone who decided to stick by it though. Chad and Libya fought the Toyota War over the border between. Where's Chad? Chad. Yeah. So this large piece, mostly desert, looks like. This is Libya over here. This is Chad. They fought over a certain insignificant piece of land called the Awuzu Strip. They fought the Toyota War over it. The reason why it's called the Toyota War is that for the most part, the rebels used Toyota pickup trucks. You see, today you have Toyota Hilux, that pickup truck. Yeah, the one which existed in around 1980. That was what they used to get around in the desert. So it's called the Toyota War. You can read about it. It's interesting. But yeah, they fought over borders too. So it wasn't all like everybody decided to let's chill out. No, it wasn't like that. So the rule, the idea to stay with the borders that you had at the time of independence is called the Uti Possidetis rule. I don't expect you to keep this in mind, but hey, if you know what the Uti Possidetis rule is, a big deal. There are many people who don't know that. It's something I only got to learn in law school, which I get to share with you. So that's something you can keep. It's called the Uti Possidetis rule. The rule that you stick the borders as they were at the time of independence. You're going to stick with them. So this is how we got the borders. Now, there are some important exceptions you might want to note, because in Southern Africa, it's Zimbabwe, Zambia. The history is not exactly that, because they had to go through civil wars before they became independent. It's a lot more confusing there. It's not the purpose of this video. I'm not going to go deeply into that. Okay, yeah, but generally, that is what we decided to do. Just stick with the borders we had at the time of independence. Okay, yeah. So let's look at some basic facts about Africa, okay? So basic facts about Africa. It used to be South Africa with the largest economy. Now it's Nigeria. Our Niger brothers and sisters are doing a good job, yes. So according to the World Economic Forum, the largest economy is Nigeria. Now, what's an economy? Think of it. Now, think of it as a game, okay? The economy is the name we give to the system in which people make things or do things for other people. We give them money for the things they make and take the stuff that they've made. And you notice everything around you is almost like you bought it from somewhere. The PC I'm using, the headphones I'm wearing, the clothes, everything. Just imagine how many people are giving money for some food or something. So many people are doing that at this one time, and it's happening every minute, every second, every day, every week, every month, every year, and it's been happening for the last 20, 50, 60, 70, 90 years, and it keeps on going. You understand? This is the economy. That give me this, I give you some money for it, that we do every now and then, okay? Now, in this system, like the one we have in Ghana, for example, the government can step in and say, hey, this you can't sell, that you can't sell. Of course, you can't go out and go and buy cocaine or weed. Now, if the government if you are caught, you have a problem with the government, okay? You have a problem with the government, then you've committed a crime. And if things go as expected, you will probably end up in prison. You last perhaps 2 days, they'll give you bail, and then they'll set a court date, you go to court. And if you are not able to show that you are innocent, if you're not able to get yourself out of there. If how do I say it? It's innocent until proven guilty. Okay, you are innocent technically, but if they go to court and they are able to prove that you actually sold weed or you bought weed or cocaine and you are not supposed to buy it, then you go to jail. All right, or you might have to pay a fine or go to jail, or pay a fine and go to jail. So we measure the economy the same way we give grades or scores with your exam. There are various ways to grade the economy. As gross domestic product, okay? The value of the things you create every year must minus how much you spend to create them. So every single company, everybody, so the lady who is making Sobolo, okay? How much Sobolo is she making? In CD terms, if she's to sell that Sobolo, how much will she make? Minus how much she spent to make the Sobolo. Now, this Sobolo lady is just one person. Think of every other person who is making anything and everything. We put all of this together, including government, and we see how big it is. We say, oh, this economy is big, this economy is small. You understand? If this guy is producing a lot more, we say this guy is better, has a bigger economy than that one. So, yeah, so you take the information from households, businesses, government, find out what they're so when we talk about this, we are looking at GDP on an individual level. Now when you put them all together, then you get the GDP of the country. You understand? So if the GDP is increasing, say it was 44 billion yesterday and it's 64 billion today, you are doing well. But if it's 64 billion today and it's 36 tomorrow, then you are not doing well. Your economy is slowing down. Most of the time, it's measured in dollars. Okay. So, the newest country in Africa is South Sudan. It became independent in 2011 after the citizens voted in a referendum to split from Sudan. Let's just take a look at Sudan for a minute. Sudan should be somewhere around here. Voila. Hold it. Now, I want you guys to take a really good look at this section here. From here all the way down, all the way here, all the way here, all the way here, all the way here. This was one country. But then the people down here were like, nah, we don't like you people, you don't give us what we want, so we want to separate, we want our own country. Like, okay, you want to vote? Okay, let's vote. Yeah, we don't like you. Guys, it seems they voted they don't like us. Okay, let's split. We Sudan, you South Sudan. Fine by me. Only problem is, since South Sudan was formed, it's been plagued by civil war. President and vice president are fighting each other. It's sad. It was formed only in 2011. It's a small boy. Most of you might even be older than South Sudan, but anyway. Size and age doesn't make a leader anyway. So, yes, we have 54 plus 50. There are 54 countries in Africa plus 2 disputed regions. Smash the comment section with the 2 disputed regions. It's actually homework. Yes, the one with the best answer, I'm going to credit. Yes, we have a population of 1.2 billion people, and yes, that essentially is Africa for you. So, yeah, South Africa here. So this. Madagascar is part of Africa. It's the island here, or perhaps the chain of islands here. So yes, perhaps I should focus a bit more on. No, this island is what do you call it? Madagascar. Okay, so this is Madagascar. It's part of what do you call it? Africa. You have Comoros. It's also part of Africa. Now this is a chain of islands. You not only this is an island, this is an island, this is an island, this is an island. It's supposed to be one entity, see. Or perhaps, hold it. Let a better example of this chain of islands thing is Cape Verde. Cape Verde. Voila. So this is Cape Verde. See these things that look like rocks in the ocean? It's actually land, but they're surrounded by water. An island is a piece of land surrounded entirely by water. Now you have this chain of islands. A chain of islands is called an archipelago. 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 Okay? Yeah. So that's essentially what you have. So yeah, this essentially is Africa. This end is the southern end. This is the southern end of Africa. You look at this end. This country is Somalia, by the way. Whenever you hear the Horn of Africa, we are talking about this place. This is the place you are talking about when we mention the Horn of Africa. Okay? Yeah. So this is the Horn of Africa. This is Eastern Africa. South Sudan, Uganda, Kenya, Mozambique. No, Mozambique is in the southern area. As Tanzania, southeastern. You have Eritrea. China has a lot of stuff around here. Eritrea. Wait, I think this is the same place the head of the WHO comes from. Yeah, I think this is where he comes from. Yeah. Anyway, this is Northern Africa. Okay, North. Egypt, Libya, Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco. Yeah. Then you have Central Africa, okay? Central African Republic, ostensibly. You have Democratic Republic of Congo, you have Congo, so this is Central Africa, this area here. Then you have West Africa, where we live. Ghana, Nigeria, Togo, Benin, Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, Mauritania, Nouakchott, Senegal, Gambia. Gambia is really tiny, eh? It's like a tongue. Look at it. Really tiny. Bissau, Guinea-Bissau, Guinea. You have Sierra Leone, capital Freetown. You should know all these capitals, by the way. You should be off head. It's really important. It's really important. You can't be around today and not know, at the very least, capitals of African countries. That's a no-no. You have to know them. It's really important. So yeah, we've done our coverage of Africa. We'll move straight up to Europe. It's no time to waste. This is Europe, the place where our colonial masters came from. This is the land they came from. Now, for Europe, okay, Europe also had its empires. Now, they are the Holy Roman Empire, the Third Reich. Yes, I forgot to tell you guys, the Third Reich, okay, was the name of Hitler's empire. He said it was going to last 1,000 years. It didn't even last 10. Too bad. What can you do? He's dead right now. Yeah. Sometimes you don't open your mouth too much. Yeah. So you've had the Holy Roman Empire. Really, Holy Roman Empire. Anyway, Holy Roman Empire, the British and French empires. Lately, yeah. But the British and French empires expanded out of Europe. They came to cover places from Africa, the places that they owned in Africa, the Cote d'Ivoires, the Togos, the Algerias, all the way to countries in Asia, that's around where China is, where Japan is, places like Indochine, what's that place now called? Vietnam. Okay, so the British and French empires were particularly special in that it wasn't just land in Europe. No, they were from Europe and they had lands outside Europe covering the world. The British Empire governed nearly a fifth of the world at a certain point in time. That's if you are to take the whole world and divide it into 5 portions, 1 portion was for the British alone. Yeah. So let's take a look at the Holy Roman Empire and the Third Reich again. So this is Hitler's Third Reich, 1933 to 1945. Gone too soon. I know I need. Let's see, these are African empires. Voila, the Holy Roman Empire. This was 117 years after Jesus Christ died. Okay. Now, this, mon ami, c'est pas ici. Now, you see this place called Italia. Rome started just somewhere around here, and it expanded to cover land all the way to modern day Britain. Look, Britannia. It covers all the way to North Africa. Egypt, portions of Egypt, portions of the Middle East. This area was where Jesus was born, etc. Jerusalem, Judea. Why is this thing messing up? Yeah, it's a click feature. Yuck. Anyway, Judea, Jerusalem, Bethlehem. You see, all this entire area, the way to Armenia. Voila. So this is when the Holy Roman Empire had expanded to its largest extent. This is the land it covered. It was a big deal. It was a really big deal. In many ways, the Holy Roman Empire is to those people at that time what America is today. If you said you were a Roman citizen, you're a citizen of the Roman Empire, it was a big deal. It's like saying you're an American citizen today. That's about the best way I can capture it. See. So this is the British Empire at its greatest extent. Now, this is just Britain. Everything you see in pink belongs to Britain. Canada belongs to Britain. India, Singapore, Hong Kong. Man, everything you see in pink. Look, Anglo-Egyptian Sudan, Kenya, Somaliland, Zanzibar, Rhodesia, the North and South Rhodesia, the countries which give you, I think, Malawi, Zambia and Zimbabwe, South Africa, Swaziland, Mauritius, Seychelles. This is the place they took Kwame, Yaa Asantewaa to. When Yaa Asantewaa was captured, I think Yaa Asantewaa was said to those Ashanti chiefs who rebelled when they wanted the golden stool or something. They were brought here. Mauritius, Cocos Island, Australia, New Zealand. Yes, even places in South America, British Guyana. Yeah. So the British and French empires were particularly special because they expanded out of Europe. See what we have here. So at this point, we'll look at how they ended up. No, hold on a second. So yes, the European continent played host to empires like the Third Reich, British, French empires, and the large, yes, of course, Russia is in Europe. Napoleon tried invading Russia, it didn't work. Hitler's biggest mistake was invading Russia. That too didn't work. If you know any European power who invaded Russia and it worked, let me know in the comment section below. You get a prize. I reveal the winner in the next episode. So how is it that Europe is divided? The land in Europe is divided the way it is. Now the explanation is simple. World Wars 1 and 2 and the effects from there. Not only that, because of World Wars 1 and 2, today you have the EU. I'll get to the EU in a minute. So I already showed you with World War 1 that, for example, Germany was divided. You understand? Germany was divided into several parts. But when Hitler came to power, he took all the land that was taken away from him back, and he took more, starting World War II. Eventually, Hitler's Germany lost, and Germany was divided in two. One part run by the Russians, another part run by the Americans and British and co. When I say the Russians, it's not accurate. What I mean is the Soviet Union. Russia today, okay, we'll get to the Soviet Union. I'll have to talk about that. So let me see if I have anything on the Soviet Union today. If I don't, I probably won't bother with the Soviet Union too much, because today it's just supposed to introduce you, but there are certain things that I'll have to explain, so I end up there. So forgive me. So yeah, this is how Europe looked like before and after World War I. Take a look at the map. Look at Germany. The German Empire was big. Austria-Hungary was an empire then. Russia had an empire. The place we now call Turkey, the country we now call Turkey, was an empire on its own known as the Ottoman Empire. It was a Muslim-led something. After World War I, after 1918, even look at Britain. You had Ireland then. Then, look over here. Germany, look how large it was, the German Empire. Sliced off. See? Look at Austria-Hungary over here. It doesn't exist anymore. Now you have what? Austria here and Hungary here, and just two small pieces of land compared to this big empire. But then every group had its own something. So the Czechs had their land, what do you call it? The Hungarian, what do you call it? The Bulgarians had theirs. You see, Romania got bigger. Those who fought on the side of those who won World War I, Britain, France, America, they got land. Not as big as they might have liked. Like Italy, for example. Italy didn't get as much land as they wanted. Reason why and a few other things. So they flipped to join in World War II. Instead of fighting on the side of the British and French and Americans, they fought on the side of Hitler and the Germans. So yeah, one fun fact you could put in there. But look at it. The Ottoman Empire is now Turkey. All its acquisitions, all the things it had gotten for itself to make itself an empire, was taken away. Now the Second World War did just like the First World War. It changed the way Europe looked. So whereas in Africa we had colonization, and we decided after we got rid of the whites, the British, French and co, that we're going to keep our borders, and some people fought to right and some people had more complicated situations. With Europe, what you had was a bit different, because eventually they fought. So Europe was the main place where World War I was fought. You could say same almost for World War II. Now after each war, what did you get? The map changed. So look at this. This is the German Reich before World War II. This is Germany. Look here. Germany was made smaller, one, and divided in two. This side for the USSR people, this side run by the, what do you call it? The British, French, and Americans. Poland, I think, got a bit smaller. The Russians took a slice out of it. Finland's border changed. I think the Russians, because they won the war, they took a slice out of that one too. Turkey, well, it remained Turkey. They kept eating their turkey. Don't mind anybody's business. Yeah. So this is what happened to Europe, and for the most part, Europe has remained like this. Only in 2008, we had Kosovo become its own country. Yes, the case of the USSR. I said I was going to get to it. Now I'm here. Listen. So the USSR, I'll explain it like this. The land we call Russia today was run by kings and queens, by the monarchy. Up until World War I, when the monarchy, the communists, decided to rile people up and get rid of the monarchy. So when they got rid of the monarchy, when they got rid of the kings and queens, the communists they were in power. they became sort of the presidents. They ran the place. Now, if you look at Russia today, it's not as big as this, although it's fairly big. Now, Russia, in addition to all these colored things down here, all these colored pieces of land, put together, is what gives you the USSR, the United Soviet Socialist Republic. I'll get to what socialism means much later on. This is not the forum for it. From at least the 1920s all the way to 1990, this was one country. I forget something though. Something happened after World War II. The Soviet Empire got bigger. Whilst now with the Second World War, a brief on it. So Hitler started it by attacking Poland. France, Britain, the Allies declared war on Germany. Yeah, people were declaring war on each other anyhow. But what you had was the Axis: Germany, Italy, Japan, in one corner with their small boys, who we don't get to mention because they are not important. And then you had Britain, France, and their people in the other corner. Between 1939 and 1941-42, the Germans had done a solid number on Europe. They had taken a lot of territory, and they had even divided France in two. And they did to the French people exactly what the French people did to them. It gave them huge costs to pay. And were taking a lot of natural resources, coal and stuff, so that they could win the war. And at that time, Britain was standing alone. Britain was the only country fighting the Nazis from Germany at the time. Now, Hitler's party is known as the Nazi Party, the National Socialist Party, or something like that. Forget the actual thing, but yes, National Socialist Workers' Party. Yeah, if I remember correctly, that's what it was. So, Hitler was fighting the British, and then the Japanese, who were Hitler's friends, went. This is what the history books tell us, and bombed Pearl Harbor. Pearl Harbor is in Hawaii, America. A lot of people lost their lives, and America declared war on the Axis: Germany, Italy, Japan. They also decided to give the British weapons, stuff that to live on to fight the war, and the Americans got involved in the war. The French people, who weren't still under the German occupation, also joined the effort. The notable one being Charles de Gaulle. He would go on later to be a president of France and a key important person in the creation of the European Union. So this coalition, Britain, America, the Free French people, came together. Whilst, I forgot. At the same time, Germany had decided to invade Russia. Hitler and Stalin, the leader of USSR, had signed an agreement that they weren't going to attack each other. They are going to be friends. As a matter of fact, when Hitler attacked Poland, Stalin also had people attacking the other side, the northern side of Poland, even into Finland, and they shared the territory. For all intents and purposes, they were good friends. Until Hitler decided, okay, Charlie, Europe no, yes, pie no, you need to be fine. Russia no, yes, territory no, assassin be wo, Koji na, oh Nana, where do you Koji? Assassin wo, important pa, to meet you before went and bar, Ube steady, ube fine, pa, krumha, ube fair. Oh, nigga. Told his army men, hey, let's go. We are going to Russia to have a party over there. We're just going to sack those people. And it wasn't so easy. Eventually, they weren't able to take the important places before winter. And Russian winters are unbelievable. People froze standing. Long story short, the campaign to go take the USSR, or sorry, when I say Russia in these contexts, pardon me, I'm not used to USSR. I grew up in the Russia times, so pardon me. But he failed, and the Russians started beating him back from the east. The Americans and British also started beating him back from the west. Now, let me get the map of Europe. So, where's Normandy? Let's see if I can get. Fantastic. So the British and French agreed on a plan as to how they were going to free France and let Hitler lose the war, beat Hitler back. They decided that they were going to land on the beaches of Normandy, over here, and start their campaign all the way. Hitler had, for the most part, northern France. So the Americans and British, they planned the largest land invasion ever. The most men they've taken on ship and put on land as, what do you call it, fighters. The largest in history was done over here. So if I were to zoom out a little bit, over here they landed and they beat the French all the way. They beat the Germans all the way from here all the way back, swept through Italy. Of course, the North African forces, the Germans came here, the Italians and Germans were here, and De Gaulle and co were able to beat them back all the way here. So from down here all the way through Normandy, the Germans were being pushed back. Meanwhile, from the east here, Ukraine, Moscow, because when they failed here, the Russians started beating them back too. So they were fighting the war on two fronts. One from the east, one from the west. The Americans on the west, the Russians and the USSR people from the east. All the way to inside Germany here, where Hitler shot himself, killed himself. The war was over and the land was divided. So most of the land from the east all the way to Germany, the Russians took for themselves. The USSR people took for themselves and expanded the Soviet Union. Okay? So that's after World War II. Now the Soviet Union, just like how the Soviet Union and Russia were, and the Soviet Union and Germany were friends before Hitler did his thing. The Soviet Union and America were pretty friendly until the war ended and the Soviets were like, nah. So there was the Cold War. The reason why it's called Cold was, it wasn't like you had soldiers fighting each other. But in various places in the world, okay, in places like Vietnam, Afghanistan, American troops will meet people that Russia will sponsor and fight there. It's not active military engagement, but you can't say it's peaceful either. Long story short, the Soviet Union, because of its economic system, was not able to survive. It didn't last as a country. It died pretty quickly. 1990, 1989-1990, the Soviet Union split into these. This is Russia. The rest, the Stan countries, were part of the Soviet Union. They've all disintegrated now. All those territories which they took during World War II, Poland, Hungary, and co, which were communist controlled, they became their independent states again and joined the EU. So, I think I've rambled enough on. This was supposed to be an introduction, not to take you so deeply, in my opinion anyway, into how the USSR became a country, how it lasted, but it's an important chapter in the history of Europe and how Europe came to be what it is today. So yes, let's look at some brief facts on Europe and wrap up this session. So, the largest economy in Europe is Germany with 3.863 trillion. The newest country, as I told you already, is Kosovo. It broke away from Serbia in 2008. It's getting others treated as a country. 50 countries, population of more than 746 people. So, thank you very much. This has been a very interesting session. I think we're going to leave it there for today. So, grade 6 and 7, your homework. You're going to tell us in one page what you know about the CFA franc. Grade 3 and 4, tell me what you know about Adolf Hitler. Grades 5 and 6, what is decolonization? I'll put the deadlines for the submission of assignments in the description. See you in the